In Buenos Aires, the geometry of the city converges at a single point of political gravity, the Plaza de Mayo. When Juan de Garay founded the city in 1580, he established the square as the primary seat of colonial administration. It was designed from its first day to function as a theater of absolute authority. This aerial view reveals how the square's perimeter is defined by buildings representing the fundamental pillars of the country. The state, the church, and the financial sector each occupy a massive, distinct flank, walling in the plaza with stone. The layout suggests a space built by elites to command obedience. Yet this same square eventually became a world-renowned stage for human rights and civilian rebellion. The history of Argentina plays out in the tension between these two forces. It is a struggle between the looming, static stone of the institutions and the dynamic human defiance that regularly claims the center of the square. The eastern flank of the plaza is anchored by the Casa Rosada, the official workplace of the Argentine president. In 1580, this site was a colonial fort meant for maritime defense. By the late 19th century, that footprint was shared by two completely separate structures, a central post office and a smaller government house. In 1884, architect Francesco Tamburini unified the structures by constructing a massive Italianate archway between them, creating the primary entrance we see today. Because the two original buildings were never the same size, the resulting palace is permanently asymmetrical. The left and right wings do not match, leaving the seat of government with a physically unbalanced profile. Even its pink color is a product of pragmatism. A popular legend suggests it symbolizes the merging of the red and white political parties. But 19th century builders actually achieved the hue by mixing lime with cow's blood and fat, a common technique used to weatherproof masonry against humidity. The Casa Rosada is an architectural hybrid. Its stitched-together, asymmetrical facade serves as a physical mirror for the improvised and often turbulent growth of the Argentine state. On the opposite side of the square stands the Cabildo, the original seat of the colonial municipal government. Modernization projects in the 19th and 20th centuries physically sliced this building apart. To create room for the Avenida de Mayo and diagonal sewer, the city demolished 3 arches on the north side and 3 on the south. The pattern of structural contradiction continues at the Metropolitan Cathedral on the northern corner. Completed in 1822, its facade looks like a Greek temple rather than a church. 12 Corinthian columns stand in front of a neoclassical portico, hiding a traditional Spanish colonial interior behind the Greek influence. At the exact center of the plaza sits the Pirámide de Mayo, a monument built in 1811 to mark the first anniversary of the revolution. The grand 1856 statue we see today actually functions as a shell. Hidden entirely inside the masonry is the original, much smaller mud brick obelisk from 1811. These buildings reveal a state that constantly overwrites its own image. It is a legacy of buildovers and amputations, where new histories are placed directly on top of the foundations they replaced. The stone perimeter represents the square's institutional weight, but the center of the plaza belongs to the people who reclaimed it. From 1976 to 1983, a military junta seized control of Argentina, marking the beginning of the Dirty War. Military commanders occupied the Casa Rosada, exercising absolute authority while thousands of citizens were kidnapped and disappeared without a trace. In 1977, 14 mothers walked into the plaza to demand answers about their missing children. State of siege laws prohibited groups from standing still or gathering. To bypass this, the women began to walk in continuous circles around the Pirámide de Mayo. This simple act of walking transformed the square. A space designed for military and state control became a persistent physical mechanism for civilian resistance. To identify themselves, the mothers wore white headscarves. These were originally made from the cloth diapers of their missing children. They took the private, domestic identity of motherhood and turned it into a highly visible political tool. Their marches have continued every Thursday for decades, forcing the state to remain in the presence of the victims it tried to erase. Today, those white scarves are no longer just fabric. They are painted permanently onto the ground around the pyramid, leaving a civilian mark on the plaza's pavement. The Casa Rosada and its surrounding monuments project the permanence of the state, but the circles around the pyramid prove that the collective memory of the people is the square's most enduring structure.